Hey, Walter, can you hear me?
I don't know about Walter, but I could hear you.
I'm Matthew Tether. I'm with Liska McCormick Van Voris Architects.
Okay.
And that's what I always, that's a terrible idea. I'll give you my number. I don't have your number. I don't know.
I'll give you my number.
Here, I'm gonna text you right now.
And then you can say. One of
Right, go ahead.
5 million office spaces. And it's 5 million. 0.5 million separated those guys.
858-0597.
That's cool. Really is.
95. Good, now we have it.
So they're 5 minutes.
Miranda.
She's here.
We never heard from Miranda. but-
Miranda's here.
Oh,
All right, then we're, but we have a forum anyway. Yes, ma'am.
So John,
We're kind of limited on time, so you might have to share.
Send all the commissioners the agenda. So I just sent.
But just bring it up.
to the people.
I get it. Well, but we have it here, so we'll just do what we, I think we'll get through everything.
Okay.
I really do. All right. So should we begin? Although we have something special. Oh, this is- All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. And we are can we review the minutes, or if you've reviewed them, can we get a motion to
I
approve?
reviewed
They were excellent. Okay. Can I have a, could you make a motion perhaps to approve the minutes?
my emotions. Remove it, especially-
Jeremy will second, and then we'll approve those. Everyone in favor, great. And now we're gonna do the certificate of appropriateness votes. So we will start with. Can I read them? There's something important. Okay, great. So it's first. Hey, Jan, can we blow that up a little bit?
Yeah. Like,
Just a moment.
the agenda or the,
That's been here for 38 minutes. Thank you. 518, it's a standard approval. It is.
If we go bigger again.
It's for a sign. You can make it bigger again. 518 warrant for a sign. Standard approval. Do I have a motion? Hugh and Paul, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. 330 Allen Street. It's a picket fence. Does not have any conditions. Oh, is there anything here from 518 warrant?
so that was the.
They're not here.
Yeah, that was not. That was the barber shop sign.
Yes. That's okay. That's 611 Union. No, I'm sorry. 330 Allen Street.
That was Peter Meyer's home, and that was the white picket fence.
Right. There's no conditions to this. Do I have a
Yes.
Paul, Miranda, all in favor? Aye. All right, 330 Allen Street. Is there anyone here from 330? I
Yeah, Allen
Street. Or we not? I can do it. Yeah, the discussion.
They can pick it up with her.
You can pick it up with your permit.
Okay.
All right.
Wednesday.
And it,
Monday.
On Monday,
and it needs to be stamped.
it needs to be stamped.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then the next one is 207 Allen Street. Make a motion, there's no conditions. We have Paul and Hugh, all in favor, aye, great. And then we have 28 South Seventh, it's a sign. Do I have there's no conditions,
No,
all right,
Yeah.
Miranda and Paul, all in favor, aye, great. And then we have 611 Union, no,
438 East Allen.
438 East Allen, the condition, right?
Yeah,
The iron straps installed on the two garage doors be removed. We all can recall that. Exciting debate around that. So that will, that's the condition. So with that condition, do I have a motion to approve it?
Yes.
Paul and Hugh, all in favor? Aye. That's great. And then I do have one for 611 Union. It's not on this might be old. All right, never mind. So these are all approved and they'll be stamped after the meeting and they can be picked up with their permit starting on Monday from code enforcement.
is that, should I add 611 to?
No, I'm sorry, that was
It was an old one.
Okay.
So now we're gonna go to the applications, 204 Warren Street. Do we have anyone here from 204 Warren or on the Zoom? 204 Warren, it's a sign. Okay, we'll come back to you. 739 Columbia Street, exterior renovation. Anyone on the Zoom or in the audience?
Yes.
Okay, hi there.
Hi.
Should be a leash.
Nice to see you. So here you are on Zoom and can't really read your name. I'm sorry,
Sorry, no problem. Elise McMahon.
please. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure. I have a slideshow that might just help with visuals. Is that
That'd be great.
okay? I'll share my screen. One moment. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm here representing my mother, and we've been working together on the renovation plan for 739 Columbia. She purchased it last November from Tony Cusimano, who was the previous owner of TJ Auto. But yeah, so the 739 is the yellow building in the center there. And this is it. And that's the top view, bird's eye view. So you can kind of see it's next to the mechanic shop and then also on the same block as the triangle and across from the gas station there and next to the chocolate shop. So one thing that was interesting is that I went to the library to find out from the archive any history and find any images of the building. And there was actually a lot of documentation of this building. The property used to be owned by the same owners of the St. Charles Hotel. And then the property was subdivided and the building wasn't there until 1921. It had been pulled up Lower State Street with a team of horses, which was interesting. It was owned by an operator of a gas station, and then he sold it to the operator of a tire shop and mechanic shop. And then it was purchased in the 70s by Tony and Josephine Cusimano, and then he sold it to his sister in the 90s for $1. And then we just bought it from him last year. And this is a survey of how the property used to exist. And basically there was like a very large area owned by the St. Charles Hotel until it got subdivided. And this is the building in the 30s. So it's there on the left next to the previous St. Charles Hotel before it was dismantled. And now St. Charles is on Park Place. But yeah, so there's the building as a tire shop, and it does not have a roof at that point that is the gable roof. It's just the 2 floors. So there's a little zoom in, and it has the gas station at that point. There's a garage behind. Here it is in the 70s as Moon's Tire Shop, and you can see that the change of the property next door has changed the mechanic shop. And here's kind of, I'm about to show you the elevations. So this is just kind of helping orient our northeast, southwest. And here's the front of the building. And on the left is the current state of it. And then on the right is what we're hoping to do with the renovation. So updating the windows and adding the window design that has the Munsons. And then also extending the roof overhang by 8 inches just to help with water deflection. We would add gutters, and there would be a removal of the vinyl siding, and then we would clean up and repair the original clapboard siding, which is luckily underneath the vinyl. And here's the side of the building. And what's along the alley. And so we would hopefully be making the windows a bit larger and doing the same kind of Munson style windows, updating them, adding a little, basically on the back, there's a kind of unsafe, not to code stairwell. So we would be removing the stair that goes up to the apartment in the back, and then we would be doing a code compliant stair, and we would then also be enclosing that area so it doesn't allow rainwater in. So to do that, we did a glass brick wall on the bottom right there, if you can see. And I'm happy to zoom in if you're curious to see closer. And we would be repairing the roof. We're basically making the roof strong enough that someday when we have the funding, we could do a metal roof, but right now we would just be replacing the asphalt shingle roof. And then on the back, there's the garage there, which used to be kind of the tire shop for TJ before he moved to the larger building. So we would be keeping that a garage and then having the stair also lead up to a porch there for the apartment to have some outdoor space. So here's the back view. And on the right, you can kind of see how the stair is just going straight up to the apartment. And there's also the small balcony that comes out of the kitchen. And a slightly larger, but not much actually, just a slightly larger window for the attic there. And then basically because we would be removing the kind of stair area, there was there used to be like an upstairs kind of not solarium, but like a back porch that had windows on it. So that all is getting removed because it wasn't code compliant. So we would be replacing it with this smaller kind of upstairs balcony. And then this is the side that faces the chocolate shop, and it is not visible, and we're not changing anything about the windows there. We'll just replace them and make them more heat insulative. And that's the full current. And then this is the current layout. And we're not changing that much about the layout except kind of opening some of the walls. We've gotten an engineer stamp on all the plans and the structural update. And this is the renovation exterior plan in full. And then this is the layout. And then also I was bringing up just some images of kind of window reference images from the time period. We're not exactly sure what year the building was built. We just know that it was brought up State Street in 1921. So we imagine sometime in the 1800s to late 1800s. You all probably know more by looking at it. But yeah, that's all I have. Would you like me to leave the slideshow open, and would any of you like me to flip back to any of the pages, or should I close
Or if
it?
you- Yeah, please leave it open.
Okay.
So any questions, comments?
Yeah, I'd like to start. I think that the history, the research that you did was terrific. That's really an interesting fact that it had been moved there from State Street. I'd like to start with the facade and the windows. I think if you look at the original photograph, and you'll see it was 2/1 windows, and like even the old hotel next door is 2/2. Yeah, I don't know if like the 4/4 would really be appropriate.
It's 2/2 in here.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 2/2 rather.
Yeah, that's the one. If you zoom in on that picture, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
the windows are 2/2. And that's more typical for a building of this period.
And you'll see that on the hotel next door as well.
Okay, I see. So, so that is, would that have to carry through the entire building, or could that just be on the front facade?
I would recommend that it be the same all over, because that's, probably what it would have been. And I mean, I just wanted to talk about the facades. I would, recommend that you stay to 2/2. And regarding the side, I mean, you're really altering, that exposure.
Elise, could you pull up the side for us?
Yes.
By changing the window sizes and style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder, well, would it be possible to basically just do the 2/2 windows? I'm curious kind of how we would do the more horizontal windows, but I feel like we could find a correlating to the 2/2 style.
Does anybody else have a concern about let's deal with the issue separately.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
does anyone have a concern with the reorientation of the side facade, the side window, right? They're changing they're changing the orientation of the upper left. They're doubling the size of that center window. They're increasing the size of that third, and then the bottom two are about the same. Does
I don't
that
know
bother you
about that.
particularly, Jeremy?
My biggest question was about the 2/2.
I think that'll be the second question though.
The last block was the one thing that really stuck out in my head as being incongruous with the rest of it.
Yeah, I have less concern about the orientation of the windows because they're already kind of miscellaneous.
Yeah. Right.
And it is an alley facade.
It's very.
But I do think
Right.
I agree with everyone else that the 2/2 is much more appropriate.
So if the applicant were to revert to 2/2 throughout the building, would we be comfortable with this window arrangement?
I'd say yes.
I would.
Okay,
I think we'd like to see what this ends up looking like, though,
We want a rendering of
because of the, you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna make this
This
large.
large.
right, I mean, that, right. Okay, so maybe that's the request. Please, how does that strike you?
That's absolutely fine.
You'd like to see a
Would-
rendering of this with 2/2
Yeah.
of the facade and the side. But I think the commission is open, assuming that comes out well, the commission is open to the arrangement of the windows that you have.
Okay, thank you.
But also look at it as an opportunity, like if you look at the large window on the back, to align that right edge, like if you're already opening it up, I mean, you might look to create some clear verticals in here. There's still some misalignment that you can rectify, I think, as part of this, that we've seen on the side.
Mm-hmm. Which edge are you referencing? Sorry, I'm just looking at the
On the
photo.
side,
We're gonna go back
Yeah,
to the
the
side,
previous.
to the large window.
Oh, yeah.
The large window that you're proposing, if you look at the window below it, it's misaligned, and if you're opening up that hole, why not align that right edge? And so try to create some plumb lines with what you're doing with the grid.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The glass block, can you explain to me the rationale for the glass block? Obviously, you're looking to get some light into there, but it seems very,
where's the glass block? Can we,
you see the small grid?
Lower right.
I
That's
see.
all glass block.
Yes. So what's interesting is it's been a very awkward back area in its life since the 70s. And it has this kind of open lattice walkway happening. And basically the back area is now becoming aligned more with how the garage has this cinder block and then stuccoed surface. And so there's going to be to bring some light into this cinder block kind of diagonal stair, there will be some interspersed glass bricks in there, which are shown with kind of these darker lines. And it's been all spec'd out by our engineer. And then basically we were hoping to have the glass bricks on this side, just bring more light into that fully enclosed stair. Just because it's like a very kind of enclosed area to keep it watertight. And we wanted to kind of bring in as much light as possible in a admittedly like playful way. And also because it's kind of in the back of the building, it's not very visible from the front of the street. So we were kind of taking it as this opportunity to kind of transition to the back area.
I think Jeremy's not that enthusiastic to the other commissioners.
Part of what's challenging about this is that we don't have a photograph of what the back looks like now, and it's a little hard to figure out from the elevations.
Hmm.
So that would be helpful, I think, if we did have a current photograph of the back.
Read the transition that's tough. It's like we're trying to merge two things into
Right.
one, either like make it modern or keep the integrity of the original architecture. I think this kind of hybrid of the introduction of the block on that facade feels jarring to me.
Mhm.
I don't know what there's going.
Is this visible?
On the
This
alley.
side,
There's an alley.
there's a building,
It is, I mean, it's very near to where I live, so yes, there's a,
there's a building.
what's
3
next
feet
to it
away.
is that Tudor style garage.
That's it.
Oh, that's the
Back of
garage.
it.
So there's really, you can
It's-
see,
yeah.
yeah, there's a large parking lot there.
Yeah, so it's visible.
It's rather visible.
I think we're all saying we'd be more comfortable with something that was a little more consistent with the style
A
of the
window,
building.
if you do a window or.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it's so, you know,
A window would work.
ties into the other window.
Since you're coming back with the 2/2, would you consider reworking that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm still hoping to do the cinder block on the back, if that's possible, with the interspersed glass brick, just because
Go back to that?
let me see. So basically in the way back, which is very much not visible to the street, I'm hoping to kind of keep that relationship to the garage if you all are open to it.
That's the back of the house.
Yeah, This is the total back. So it's not visible.
Any issue, does anyone have concerns
it's
about
not.
that?
Vulnerable to that, because it feels like it has intent and it's on one
And-
side.
right, and it's not mixed.
Wrapping around the corner that feels so.
Okay,
Right, so
Yeah,
maybe
it's
that's a
not
great
really-
compromise, like you, yes, keep that element. But perhaps turn the glass brick that's on the side into something that's more in keeping with the remainder of that facade and the front facade.
Okay. That seems very reasonable. I had to have a lot of back and forth with my mom about that detail, so she'll be happy.
Well, you both get something out of that.
Yeah.
All right, so is there any other questions on this? So I think we need to see this again. I don't think we can mark this as complete, but we are meeting next week.
Okay, amazing. So I can bring back next.
Without an email.
It's complicated. I mean, they can bring it to the office and then we bring it here to eliminate that and bring it back with them next week.
All right, why don't you plan to we'll put you on the agenda for next week and plan to bring back this image and we'll look at it and we'll create a certificate of approval then.
And
Thank-
if you could bring a photograph of that side.
If you could bring a photograph of that side of the building,
Yeah.
that'd be great too.
And we need.
And if you're not here, someone can go and take one for you, I'm sure.
And
Oh,
we
I
need
can
these 5
absolutely-
copies, I guess. if we're gonna-
No problem.
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right,
Thanks.
next on the agenda is is 113 Warren, it's the Robert Jenkins house. This is all. Can I get these asked back from you, the Columbia Street?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Donna Brown. I'm here representing DAR and the Robert Jenkins House. With me on the phone are on Zoom are our regent, Virginia Martin, and our architect, Marilyn Kaplan. Yes, Marilyn. So this is about the Robert Jenkins House. We're applying for a certificate of appropriateness. You all are, I'm sure, aware that it's on the National Register and within the Lower Warren Street Historic District. That it was built in 1811 by Robert Jenkins, who was Hudson's 3rd and 5th mayor. I don't see his picture probably because it's in our house. We have his picture. It was renovated and given to the newly formed chapter of the Hudson DAR in 1900. So there were a lot of renovations done at that time. In 2021, the chapter applied for and received a National Park Service Save America's Treasures grant. And in round numbers, we got $500,000 worth of grant funding to match $500,000 worth of contributions. Over the years, we've been maintaining it over the years, but there's no getting around the fact that things have deteriorated, that 122 years later, we need another major renovation. The biggest problem is water, the incursion of water. The roof is a slate roof, and it was put on during urban renewal back in the 70s. Anyway, the wake-up call came in November of 2020. There was a storm. It resulted in a severe leak. The water seeps through the front wall and damaged the wall of the museum where we've got historic artifacts and fine art exhibited. The $4 million grant is based on an extensive list that we say to secure the envelope of the house. That's roof, parapets, masonry repairs, window and door restoration, infrastructure. For instance, there's only one plug in every room, and accessibility upgrades. And however, this application for work to be done in 2023 is for a subset of that, starting with the roof, the most urgent needs, so that we can get going while we finish raising money. So what we're proposing here is replacement of the roof with slate, although we would like to have a little discussion about that as we go forward. Rebuilding the masonry parapets, masonry repairs, rebuilding the original box gutters, including recreating the box gutter on the back. Repairing and replacing 3 third-story windows. 2 of them were replaced at some point with, terrible windows. Removal of a chimney on the south elevation, which you might be interested in, removing the chimney architecture. Thought there, and then drainage improvements, including replacing the roof leaders and maintenance of, and fixing subgrade drainage. I have some pictures. If you could bring them up, Marilyn or Virginia.
Is SHPO involved in this?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it's actually really, hi all, Marilyn Kaplan. Actually, it's the National Park Service because it's their grant funding, but they work with the SHPO for the review. It's not really state funds, but they do work with the State Preservation Office.
So on this first page, there's the facade, and you can sort of see the roof and how bad it looks. There's a circa 1900s picture of the house. And then down at the bottom, there's, on the lower left, there's a picture of the stairway with the stained glass window that is in there, and you're all welcome to come to the tour. And then on the right is a picture of the dining room, and that fireplace is the chimney I'm talking about removing is for that fireplace. And then there are 2 doors there that are interior doors. And I'll show you the south facade. Those doors used to go into a theater that was added in 1900 and removed in the 70s. And so they are just interior doors. And we've always had in mind that right now they're just covered in plywood and insulation. And so we want to open them up, and eventually we'll be back to talk about some kind of a porch, which would provide accessibility to the house as well, because right now, that there's 4 steps going up to the front door, and it's not very accessible. So on the second page, you can go to that. So there's a picture of a close-up of the roof. That's the northeast roof. And you can see the damage to the slate and the parapets. And on the right is the front knee wall. The front knee wall from the attic, it needs to be rebuilt. And on the lower left is the damage to the museum wall. We call that our latest watercolor. And then on the other side, there is in the purlin, now there's 2 purlins in the attic. One of them has a cut that's about 3 feet wide. It's just out of the purlin. Purlin is missing this section. And so that needs to be fixed at the same time. On the next page. So here's the back of the house. So you can see the 2 outside doors and the chimney that you saw from the dining room. And that chimney is full of blown out bricks. And I know whenever I go into that section, I give it a wide girth because I'm sure it's going to go flat. And then on the upper left and right, you can see that there's the remains of a box gutter, and then they are enlarged down below. And so what's going there's an aluminum gutter now connects them. So we would rebuild that box gutter. Lots more work to come, but this is just for next year, just to get going. The most critical items. And I'm going to turn it over to Marilyn, who has drawings that she will go through with you.
Great. And I need to turn it over to Virginia, who's a very skilled assistant today. I got some computer issues going on, but good morning all. Virginia, I'm going to refer to the drawings from the drawing sheet number in the bottom right. So,
A little hard for me to read that, so.
okay, not to worry, not to
Go
worry,
down.
not to worry. Okay, the next sheet, please.
Okay.
That's just the survey and the location of our project work area as shown. You can see the apps at the south, that low one-story roof that we were just Donna was just speaking to. Okay, next sheet, please. That's our front north elevation. We're essentially recreating everything that is there now. I've been part for a few years of some temporary roof patching, both at the built-in gutter and some slate replacement. But essentially the plan is to reslate the roof, new sheathing as required, of course, underneath, rebuilding of the masonry parapets completely, and the rebuilding of the interior work is at that north knee wall that you just saw. And the installation of new pipe guards, snow guards at the north elevation and at the south elevation. It's really at this point in the discussion, it's intended to be a full restoration. Again, 2 slate, all copper flashing, rebuilding of the built-in gutters, and the rebuilding of the upper masonry. When I first got involved in the project, it didn't take long to realize that the roof project was not just a roof project, but it was really roofing and masonry and carpentry. So the masonry is all of that upper wall failure at the parapets. And of course, the carpentry will be not only the sheathing beneath the slate, but in addition, the rebuilding of the box gutter. Next drawing, please. That's our west, our side elevation. The windows, we're only touching the windows that now have vinyl sash replaced at some earlier point. We have photographs of that if you want to see. 6/6 sash, because that is what remains on the east side of the building. And that's all the evidence of what was there originally. Now we'll pick up the doors on the south elevation. Next, please. There's our south elevation. We are recreating that box gutter in the center section. Again, that was removed when the theater was installed. New leaders tying to existing and cleaned out subgrade drainage. And the intent now with those interior dining room doors that Donna just spoke to is to make them weather tight and to add a exterior glazed aluminum door, a storm door, if you will. It seemed the least damaging to the original doors. We didn't want to build it up with plywood on one side or the other. If we replace them with insulating doors, we wouldn't have the original doors or be able to recreate them given the thickness that would be required. So a fully glazed metal storm panel seemed to be the most appropriate work there. The other work at the south elevation, just FYI, is masonry repointing both of the area of stone on the west side and some of the brick on the east side. And of course, that big, tall, scary chimney in the center will be taken down and a new low membrane roof installed on that low slope section above the dining room apse. Next, please. This is just a repeat. There's our removal of those windows and replacement with 6/6 wood. There's our dining room door and the parapets, again, rebuilt from the roof line up and removal of that south chimney. Next, please. There's just some blow up and details of the masonry work, the original chimneys and the parapets, and we'll be adding some more structural notes to these drawings, keying back to structural drawings. Dan Proper of Proper and O'Leary has been working with us on the project. Next, please. The roof plan, really just a repeat of the notes that we just spoke to. These will, some of the details for the structural work and interior work will be keyed to this. But again, new slate, rebuilding of the masonry parapet walls, rebuilding in the south chimney. and the snow guards on both the north and the south. I think, Virginia, that is it. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Shall I leave this up or take it down, commissioners?
Sure, let's leave it up in case we want to flip through it. So there's a lot here, but it strikes me that there's not much change, which is great. So maybe we could isolate the elements that are not being replaced like for like. So I heard that the roof is being replaced with slate. I heard that the chimneys are being torn down and reconstructed. I heard that the chimney in the rear is being torn down and not reconstructed. And then I think we'll want to ask about the windows as well.
They, for starters, the chimney in the back is from 1900, not from 1811.
Right.
So,
So are there any other, Marilyn, any other alterations that, like, what are the alterations that are proposed that'll make this different, or what are you not replacing in kind? What about, so let's talk about the windows. Is there any?
Yeah, let's talk-
changes?
Virginia, you want to go back to the photos? Those will show up. Ooh, they may not show up on this, on this. Do you've got the east or the west? Okay. They were vinyl, they were replaced with vinyl windows at some point. There's quite a bit of deterioration on those third floor and attic areas. And there is, of that same size, sash within the masonry opening, there is another 6/6 window. So there's no question in my mind that it was a 6/6 window, and we will go with a wood a true divided light window at that location. So we can provide some more documentation, some more photographs specific to the window showing what's there, the basis of our decision and what's proposed. But that's,
Let's be okay with the specification
Yeah.
for the window, because I think we'll take your word for that. Unless anyone disagrees, but so those are those are the only windows that are being replaced.
in the entire project, certainly all of the windows are going to be restored.
That is great by us.
yeah, yeah.
We're really interested in the ones that are being replaced. Restored sounds great.
Yeah, they'll all be restored unless they can't be restored, then they'll be replaced in kind with, they are 2/2.
Okay, we'll need to see the specifications for those that you're planning to replace right now.
Yes.
This
Well-
is the spec sheet from whatever you're gonna buy.
Okay,
We'd like to have that so that Craig, when he goes, can validate that that's what you actually.
And could you clarify, some of those windows are going to have an aluminum storm window over it?
The doors
So
in the
we're
back,
talking
those
about-
two doors.
we're talking about some doors. The doors on the back. What you're seeing there is there's a stained glass window above the doors, and then that's an interior door that has for 50 years been covered with fiberglass insulation and a piece of plywood.
Okay,
And so and ultimately, in the rest of the project, we would really see this as a place where we could put a porch and a handicap accessibility. And you come down the alley and you come in out and have an elevator.
Right.
And so, and it might even be a place where we could sit out and have tea. It could be a lovely spot.
But that's not what you're proposing now. Now you just want to cover those with storm doors.
Just wanna protect them.
Does anybody else have a?
but I think on the upper window, and it says, restore the window and provide a new aluminum storm window?
Yes, now, on the front of the building, we always had triple track storms, not always, we've had triple track storms for 50 years. And in 2014, we wanted to get rid of the triple tracks, and what we did was to put in allied invisible storms, and they are also aluminum. Instead of, and we didn't go with wood, and we wanted storms, of course, there weren't any storms in 1811.
Okay.
So we put in the allied storms. And so the rest of the house still has the triple tracks, and ultimately, when we restore all of the windows, I think we might go with the allied storms again, because they've been, you can't see them, and they're really good.
So would you be replacing the Allied storms that are on today
No,
after the restoration?
no,
You just put back what you have today?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, those are only from 2014.
understood.
And those are on the front of the building
They're
now?
on the front.
And you're proposing to put one over those, is there not one on the side that Paul's calling out?
I guess when we replace those third-story windows, they have nothing on them now. So,
Actually, I have a question for you commissioners. And I present, of course, to a lot of different commissions. And there is different opinions, different valid opinions, of course, as to how to obtain acceptable secondary glazing on historic windows. And I guess it would be good to know what your preference and policy has been. So we could install a double glazed window with a simulated divided light. If we put a double glazed window with a true divided light, the muttons would get too heavy. So therefore, you'd like to stick with a single glaze so that we can match the mutton dimensions. And then we have the option of discussing either interior storm windows or exterior storm windows. And of course, the exterior storm windows have the added advantage of protecting the original sash, but visually have some changes from the exterior. The interior storm windows don't offer that protection, but don't change the view from the exterior. So do you have I guess that's a little long-winded, but do you have a preference when you see windows being restored, or in the case of the third floor windows here, recreated? Is there a
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I would say the answer to that is our architect is not here today,
Yes.
unfortunately, and he provides a great deal of advice. Does anybody else have an opinion?
I know that there are some manufacturers that make the historic mutton size true light double pane windows.
And we've recommended
And
those before.
we generally prefer wood when possible, because aluminum, has a sheen to it and draws attention to itself and is clearly not historic.
You're speaking of this window that you're about to replace, right? You're looking for specificity around this window. If you want
And
to
it's
send
just that, it's just those small windows. Virginia, can you switch back to the elevation drawings? Because I want to respond to that in a second. I think it's the third sheet. It's the it's the fourth sheet. The A2, next one. No, next one up. Perfect. You see how small the window is. And so in my experience, yeah, there's quite a number of wood manufacturers or metal window manufacturers who will reproduce what we call true divided lights. But the problem is, to hold the weight of the double glazing, the muttons get really fat. So the proportions get kind of wonky. The glass itself shrinks in size. It's not bad on the 2/2 and the larger windows, but on a small window such as this, a true divided light with double glazing does not visually compatible with what would have been there originally. But I deal with some of the window manufacturers, the wood and the aluminum on a regular basis, and I'm still struggling with it. But the commissions, again, different commissions have different approaches as to what they're most comfortable with. So that'll be good I think we're flexible, but that'll be good to know.
So
We
Marilyn,
see-
can I ask a question? Just because I'm confused. Are the only windows you're replacing right now the 6/6 on top, or are you replacing everything? What's being proposed?
The only windows that are proposed to be replaced at this moment are 1/1 vinyl windows that had been added, and they will be replaced, just the 3 windows. They will be replaced with 6/6 wood sash as currently proposed. True divided light.
And those are the ones at the top of each of the side renderings, right?
That's the only windows we are discussing. Yeah, that's the only
Okay.
windows where there's a replacement.
Great. We will need to see a rendering and a spec sheet of what you're exactly proposing.
Okay,
If you want to talk, in Maryland, we would be interested in your opinion, but if you want to confer with our architect, Chip Bowles.
yep, I can
I
talk.
will say, I agree with what Miranda says. We generally look for, a lighter touch and something as historic as possible on the moment.
Will do, will do. We also need to, we also need to have the concurrence and approval from the commission, of course, and then the State Preservation Office, and then the National Park Service, because the grant we're working under, the Save America's Treasures, that's the highest caliber of grant programs that the Park Service runs. So I'd like to start with whatever you're all comfortable with and take it up, but they might bump it around for us for the.
I have a feeling that whatever SHPO says, we would tend to be, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
National Parks.
I mean, if they have an approach that they've used in other historic buildings, then I don't know that this commission would have a big problem with them.
And I'll bring that back to you with the information. Okay, but again, the intent is to remove the 1/1 vinyl windows, which aren't doing any favors to us visually from the exterior or in terms of weatherproofing at the interior, and to replace them with what is appropriate as determined by the reviewing authorities.
Right.
What is determined historically appropriate. Okay.
So
Could we just take a second to talk about the doors in the back? Or maybe that's.
No, that's where I was gonna go, right? 'Cause
Right.
that is the other change. This is the storm doors that you're placing over these doors to preserve them.
The drawing that's up, the A22 drawing that's up says we want to restore those doors. They're interior doors, so they're not good for weatherproofing. We want to restore the doors. We want to add weather stripping to the doors. Again, they're very thin. And then the intent was to install a fully glazed aluminum storm panel on the outside of that would be additive in addition to the restoration of the original door. It's kind of the same discussion as whether or not to use an aluminum storm window that we just had.
A wood storm door.
We could do a wood storm door. The wood's going to be larger, the wood stile and rails, the wood framing gets much larger, which is why when it's determined appropriate, I like to go with aluminum.
Miranda, do you have an opinion or a concern about that?
Well,
We would need a specification. of
Yeah.
it.
I have some concern. I mean, I'm a little confused as to whether this is a temporary patch until you plan what you're gonna do with that back area. If you're gonna build a deck there of some kind and have an ADA entrance, then you may treat the doors again. But I am concerned about just putting an aluminum storm door over it because it's so extremely contemporary on this very old building.
Would it be a mostly glass or all
It sounds like
glass?
a glass panel.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like a residential door. That's not what you're proposing.
No, it would be what we call kind of fully glazed, and the only frame that one would see would be either wood or a metal, would be only as necessary to hold this large piece of glass, which is just a little bit smaller than the door.
Again, if the Parks Department has used this before, and you see mostly the interior door,
Yeah,
then we would tend to go with that.
Okay,
storm doors are loaded like, oh, we don't want to see, 1950s. But I don't think that's what's being.
The other thing that if it's a door, our insurance company would probably be a little upset that it's a door that somebody can open and step out of regular. Before we put the rest of the. So,
Right, so that will, then you'll have to put some steps or something.
yeah.
oh, Donna, that's a very interesting point. Okay, we haven't spoken of that. We'll come back with a little more information on the windows and on the doors. Again, we'll loop it back to the State Preservation Office and the Park Service, and then kind of bring that discussion back to you. If it was determined a better precedent, and I would assume that the chapter would be very comfortable that we could just do a fully glazed wood frame storm door. We lose nothing by that except a little bit of visibility of the prime door. But if that's a solution that then all of us get to point to later on and say, oh, we've got a nice wood storm door over there, I think, that's a reasonable approach.
That seems like a good compromise to me.
Great. The, if I may, the windows may be a little bit of a different discussion because of the size of the window in the 6/6 sash, but I like that as a solution for these doors. Okay.
And the chimney, I think we're okay with that.
Does anyone have a concern about the chimney, the 1900 chimney in the rear?
No.
So I think, is that all the items that anyone's able to see that are actual changes?
Yeah.
So it's the 3 upper windows, and you're gonna come back to us with specification. And if you wanna come back to us after review with the parks department, that's great. It's the coverings of those rear doors, and you're gonna come back to us with specifications again. If you wanna do that afterwards, that's fine. And then the removal of the chimney, that's gonna be in your certificate of appropriateness, is okay. And if you determine that other windows are to be replaced, then we would need to have that
That would
as an
be,
addendum to your application, and so that Craig can enforce it.
I'm assuming that you'll want it back when we have the full list of things
That's right.
we want to do, and you'll have them in more detail.
Yeah.
But I did want, while I'm standing here, to talk about roof coverings. So, we are all in favor of slate. Now, the back roof is asphalt shingles now from 2009. And so the plan is to do slate over the whole thing, but there are people, and so this is an opinion we'd like to hear from you. There are people who are arguing that these synthetic slates are better, that they last longer, that they're easier to maintain, and I'm not a
We
person.
just recommended it to a homeowner with a beautiful slate roof in Hudson, and they're very
Wasn't a
happy.
slate roof, that was a,
Cedar.
No,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
one on,
wasn't a slate roof.
You know,
Thank you, Carol.
The house, what's that?
Oh, the Alger House.
The
Yeah.
elevator, that's
that's a synthetic
synthetic
slate.
slate.
You might want to have a look at it, and see what you think. It's exactly.
Maybe it's a
an
better
hour.
question for this.
Sorry,
commission.
sorry to chime in, it's real.
Oh,
Oh, it's real.
slate.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess the question is, does this commission have an opinion on whether we would prefer for a house like this to have a
I think my
Slate.
preference would be, only because it's such a significant house and it's not such a financial burden if it could stay slate, but I think if, once you get the estimate, if it's going to be an issue, maybe if you could explore.
Well, I understand that synthetic slate could also be an issue if there is a weight problem, but
Mhm.
in theory,
Yeah,
so far,
right, it's important.
I think the issue here is, as you will know better than anybody, this really is a significant building in Hudson. So it should be treated with the highest level of care and scrutiny. And for that reason, personally, I feel if real slate works for you, it would be preferable to use it.
and that's my personal opinion. I'm just saying that there is a lobby that is
Right.
trying to.
So I guess what we can say, John, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have approved synthetic materials in other cases, but we would need to see what it looks like and,
Oh, I don't know. I would go with your first comment, which is different, which is
Yeah.
this has a high level of scrutiny, and slate is good. Do you guys have an opinion?
I prefer slate if we can.
And Jeremy too. So I think the consensus would be slate unless there's some other reason not to have slate.
And what I was trying to understand, is it truly better? Some people are saying it's better, it lasts longer, and I'm thinking it hasn't been around long enough.
It's not been around.
to show us how
Well, the
well-
website says it's better.
yeah.
Actually, my question's a little bit different. And I'm kind of this is just an open discussion. And as we've had it with the chapter and the representatives, it's kind of like, let's see what the commission has done with this. In my humble opinion, it's slate all the way, and the substitute materials, whether they be cement-based, cementitious, that's cement-based, or whether they be rubber or some other plastic material, I think they actually will not last as long. Most of the damage on a slate roof is not really at the slate. It's at all of the metal flashing and gutters and places like that. I think long-term, it's a lot easier to maintain a slate roof than these other materials that we don't quite know about. So I think we'll really find out through the bid process, and we'll set up an alternate to get a price on a substitute material, just to make sure we can afford to do this portion of the project with the funds on hand. But I guess my question is twofold. Number one is, when you've looked at substitute materials, do you have any preference for either a cement-based substitute material, meaning a slate that's same dimension, same color, et cetera, or any of the rubber type substitute materials? Do you have a preference for either of those? I don't like either of them, but if we'll need to look at them just for budget and costs, and we choose the best one. But as we start our search, do you have a preference for either of those?
Whichever one is better.
Whatever one looks more appropriate. Is what
Okay.
we've done, and we always see we usually have a sample brought in.
And you would get samples, yeah, as we would, of course. Okay.
Improving material, and we might even do a site visit, and on something like this, it could even involve a public hearing.
So
I think
so that's not proposed now.
That's correct.
You would come back in the
It's our
future.
process.
That's correct. And then the next question would be, okay, if we're forced into that situation of using a faux slate material, certainly we would try to only do that on the south elevation where it's an upgrade, it's replacing asphalt shingles. So I guess just confirmation that if we end up in that sort of a situation, that yeah, the less of the substitute material we needed to use, i.e. only on the south elevation, not visible from Warren Street, that would be appropriate. And it's almost a rhetorical question, I guess.
I think it is a rhetorical question. I think
So
we're
we'll see
all
it,
in the
yeah.
same place. We really all would prefer real slate.
Excellent.
And so you should, if you need to make another proposal, you can come back to us.
Okay. And again, whatever we thought was most appropriate for if we're forced into that situation by budget, whatever is visually most appropriate, and the durability issues kind of aside. All the flashing would stay copper, all of the other detailing would stay, top shelf materials for a long-lived solution. Okay.
By the way, I just want to comment, I'm so grateful that you're going to fix the box gutter in the back.
Yeah.
That's really.
Oh, terrific.
Building the way it is now.
That's terrific. That's great. That's great.
Well, listen, I would commend you on your great work, and thank you for including us in this early stage. And congratulations on the grant you got.
Yeah.
Have you raised the matching fund?
No, but we're working on it.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Great appeal to Hudson to help. All right, thank you again. We look forward to
Thank
seeing
you,
again.
commissioners.
Thank you.
No motion or anything to this, right? Okay, what's the next?
We're not preparing.
You're not. 526 Union.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is an easy one.
Great.
Everyone, there's been ongoing work on this property. This involves the deck in the back. So it faces Cherry Alley. Picture down below here shows you, this is the existing deck. It's structurally failing, so it's time to replace it. You can see how much it's a second story, so that's how much you see above the stockade fence from Cherry Alley. And the plan is just to do something simple that's durable. Pardon me. You can see this little picture here. Here's the style of the railing. This is the color of the decking. The windows were replaced, and so we're sort of working again with the black and the taupe kind of a color scheme. The framing down below will all be fur with a bleaching oil, so it'll match that sort of a gray, and it will use exposed iron fasteners to kind of pick up.
That's great. And you're not changing anything on the house?
No, just the deck. The other thing that we're doing, so we're reconfiguring the deck right now. On the existing one, the stairs are on this side, and this is where all the light comes in. And we're going to do some storage, garden storage under the stairs. So we're going to put that tight to the fence and open this up to the light. So there's a little bit of a reconfiguration. Oh, yes, excuse me. We're doing one little change to the house, which is adding an awning.
over the back entrance, the second floor entrance, and it'll be a metal standing seam awning with a cone shape kind of bracket.
Are there any comments? Other questions? I think that's great. Do I have a motion to view the certificate, the application is complete?
Yes.
Hugh and Jeremy, all in favor? Aye. And do I have a motion to instruct the city attorney to create a certificate of appropriateness?
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
That was Paul and Hugh. All right.
We have 7027.
702, 704 Columbia.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
We are Taconic Engineering, and we're back for 702, 704 Columbia Street. We have reduced the scope of the project. I'm gonna share my screen. Can you guys see that? I can't hear you guys anymore.
Hi,
Can you hear us now?
Oh, yes.
We can see it. Why don't you tell us?
So we have, none of the changes are occurring on the front. So the front is as proposed. We're creating 2 new ADA accessible doors on the front. And then the wood storefront doors, windows, sorry. And then the new wood door to match existing in the center.
So that's not changing from our last approval, right?
Correct. None of the stuff on the front
Okay.
facade is changing.
Let's focus on the changes that are new to this building, new to this proposal.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're removing the 12 by 40 foot addition that's on the back here. Programmatically, the inside of the building is staying the same. They just want to remove this. So basically, the courtyard space has been simplified and reduced. So there will be no more fence. It was a brick and wood fence prior. They won't be installing that. Rather than having the tiered roof decks, there will only be one roof deck. The dumpster enclosure will remain and the parking will remain. There just won't be any program between them.
I just wanted to clarify, Kylie, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that we're not removing part of the existing structure. We're removing the proposed addition from the plan. So we're keeping the building exactly the way it is currently.
So then we don't have to approve that change because, well, I mean, we don't have to not approve that change, but the stairs and deck railing appear to be new, right? That's the change to this elevation.
Yes.
Correct. So it'll still be same materials. It'll still be a wood railing with the metal stairs as you guys previously approved. Just the configuration is slightly different because it's not tiered anymore. So you'll have the straight set here.
Right. I mean, I can't tell how this is different, but maybe we can tell from the next view. But also there's no courtyard anymore. That is pretty
right. So you can see that we've removed, the brick pillars with the wood fence in between. There's no fence that would be blocking this back elevation anymore. I guess the biggest changes are happening here. So on the bottom right-hand side, we have those existing double doors. Because it's now going to remain an exterior wall, they'd like to keep those existing wood doors there. They'll restore those and then reinstall them. There's no longer exterior access to the second floor because there's no roof deck there. but the layout of the windows and the transoms are the same. It's just, it went from a door to a window. And then the third floor is the same. And then here, on the train track side of the building, we're still planning on enclosing this portion here, as previously approved. Yeah, really, that's it. It's not going outside of the existing footprint.
It'll be much less busy too.
Yeah. So we're not really changing anything other than doing what's, the plans are changing. but-
Right.
The only thing that feels odd to me are those, can you go back, the previous slide?
To the rear elevations, sure.
I think the large windows, those like 40-ceiling windows made sense when there was something there.
I think that's
Now
a
it
really
feels
good
very, it feels, I don't know, it feels strange to me. It feels like you're missing a floor. You guys,
I know, but if they, so would it look better, would it be more appropriate if it had
The standard size.
just regular standard size windows?
yeah. It looks like a floor is missing to me when I look at the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you removed that bottom tier.
So same layout, but just smaller, slightly less long windows. Shorter.
More windows rather than doors as windows.
Yeah.
Well, those are all windows, correct?
Right, but they're the same as they specified, they are the same size as the doors that.
Right, so I'm saying they could be the same width, but maybe shorter, or would they be as the windows on the third floor? Small, well, maybe not quite that small, but something in between what they are and the third floor. So there's a little more space in between each window, and they're not quite as.
There's a good window example on the facade. If you can go back one slide. The side view of the building, slide 2, that bottom right. Yeah, that's.
I think it also matters more because this is going to be much more visible than it was when it was surrounded. So to me, to just have this,
Yeah.
I think you're making a good point. So I guess the question is, would the owner be open to something more traditional in terms of window formulation on the second floor, which no longer has a deck?
I think those are great comments, John. I think what I think we should do is maybe pull this back and present a couple options for that rear elevation.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so flexible, Chad.
Absolutely, sure.
All right.
So let's do that, and then we'll present that rear elevation and get a direction that fits your thoughts there better.
I think you heard the concern and why, so thank you
Yeah.
so much.
No,
All right, we'll see you
absolutely.
soon. We are
Great.
open next week, and then after next week, we're not.
Great. I think you'll see us next week.
Okay, great, Chad. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Let's keep next.
Forty-three North Sixth Street.
43 North Sixth Street, a front porch. Oh, I think it's our front here, okay.
Hello.
Great.
Pretty good, thanks. Just, a refresher, last time I presented it was, my original application contained 4 items, containing roof, siding, front porch and garage. And it was decided to, split it into 2, and the roof and the siding had already been approved. So now I'm back to present for the other half, basically, front porch and garage. I have an email ready to go in case I can send, I know the
You can
emails
send it to
are.
me on my personal email.
So that's my background, but, I do have 2 copies of the plans, so.
It might be sufficient.
Okay.
Just show us that.
So maybe I'll just do this half.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys. This one. There's
Do you want to just email it to me so I can show it to the host?
Yeah, that's right, the people at home can, that'd be great. It's a pretty significant change.
JANET, Janet. Initial T, Egan, EGA. Yes, of course.
Proposed. So is this a smaller overall, a smaller entry, or they're the same size? or-
So they're meant to be about the same
About the
size,
same
but simplified. So this one, as you'll be able to see in a picture in a second, this one has windows and
Yeah,
it has different
right.
types of siding going in different directions. So it's my client's intention to simplify this and instead of walls on the side, like windows,
Right.
would do.
The open railings, yeah.
Yeah. This one right here.
Did you email it to me?
Yeah, I sent it.
Yes.
Feel like I can get started with. Yeah, so the front porch is, the easier part of this, application. So basically, we're looking to keep the roof the same, the everything is very good. And the format of the porch will remain the same, because it will be simplified.
The front porch.
So let's call it the major changes, right? The major changes that you don't have the pediment, the triangular part above. It looks like you don't have that on the proposed rendering.
Like the front, like this front here?
Correct.
Right, so it would just be sort of an open, yeah.
Mhm. Is that the major, is that otherwise, are there any other differences that you can call out to us?
So right now, there is metal railings and we are looking to replace it with just wood.
Straight wood spindles?
Yeah, wood spindles and railings.
Those windows, the sides are gone now. If you look at that side, it looks like it's all will be open, it's just gonna be a post. Those are real. Yeah.
Are you going to rebuild the roof of it, or are you just gonna put new shingles on it?
It's pretty, as you can see, it's starting to detach from the main structure. So once we start opening that, we'll be able to determine whether we can keep the layout of the roof and just re-shingle it, or if we need to take it down and rebuild it. But yeah, so this basically the idea is staying the same. It's just that like I said, we're replacing the railings with wood, and the side walls, which would be an open concept with, spindles and a railing around it on both sides.
Right, I have a question for the historians in our group. Do we feel like there was always a porch on this house?
No, I think
For me,
we discussed that last time from that Sanborn map, and just from there was never any porch or anything on that house, but we are in a situation where there would be like the library. So
okay.
Is there any way that you could email
I-
that photograph, the period photograph of the next door house that you just showed me, the woman standing in front?
Yes.
Send it to Jan.
Send it to Jan.
Yeah.
So, just so I
So stuff we
understand,
can
this
get
is
on
the
contact.
left image here is the side of this.
Yeah.
Right, it's on
That
that
right
right
side.
side here.
Okay.
And the owners are enthusiastic about having a porch there, and that they, as opposed to just adding a railing and just removing the porch. It'll be closer to what it originally, its original intent.
As of right now, yeah, I think we, discussed the possibility of there not being a porch before or previous to whatever renovations there were. But as of right now, there's no way of certainly knowing, you know, there's no pictures or anything like that. But once we are able to remove the porch, if it's needed, I'm assuming there will be some sort of trace of, if there was a porch framed in, I'll be able to tell them, but not until then. So to bypass that and be able to get this done, we're proposing to replace basically light for light as much as possible with the only.
But I think our goal here, I think what we're saying is that that's
What is
great,
your phone number? What can I text?
but if they're open to not having a porch and having just a railing.
A
I think
text
we would be
number?
More amenable to that, is that what we're saying?
399-4438.
I think
Paul
this
is
is-
texting a
so-
photograph, a period photograph of
What
the
you're saying
next
is-
door house that shows kind
Rather
of.
than this modified porch, no porch would be more appropriate.
Right, and he'll see that as you go, as you dig through this porch and see what's underneath it, if we find that this was really just stuck on. And they're open to it, and it could be, I don't know, more cost effective, because there's lots of reasons, I think. We're in favor of there being no porch, because there are examples of it around that are. The porch to me feels very accretive to it, it feels very stuck on right now, and I think if they're open to it. And don't feel like they need to replace the porch like for like, a railing would be sufficient for the group, and we would be happier with that.
So let me ask you this, I can see your point, so let's say I go back and I speak to my client and I ask, right?
Yeah.
And I come back and report to you guys, what's the next step after that? Would I have to wait?
We can-
till January to be able to-
We can approve it.
We can approve it without a porch, and we can approve the railings today.
Yeah,
Okay,
So that might be the fastest way for you to lose the porch altogether.
yeah,
And that doesn't mean you can't come back and say, ask for an awning or ask for something else.
right,
But if you want to get, that would be done. That would be, we could get you a certificate that says that today,
okay, so,
or not today, at our next.
right, so how about this, I'll go back and speak to my client, I'll pitch your, idea. See what I get, and I'll come back next week and report.
yeah.
That'd be great. Could we see samples of the, or maybe this is of the railing? We don't really need, what is the railing gonna be?
Just wood, perfect treated, just wood,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if it's gonna matter or not, but, so the sister house was, which is on State Street side,
Mhm.
you know, that one has a porch with, you know,
Right.
columns and all the
Right.
rest.
Well, I think that's our point. In other words, if you're gonna replace this porch,
Mhm.
and there's evidence that there was a porch there, we would be looking for something more like that. If you're not gonna replace it, we have reason to believe that it's appropriate to have the minimum amount of porch there.
Right,
So if railings and stairs is fine. Does that make sense?
yeah, sure, it makes perfect sense.
I mean, and probably he would need to have something over the door to protect people from the weather. I don't know.
I mean, that's up
But
to the
I think
homeowner and they
the
can make an
point-
application for that. and it could be-
That would need to be applied for. What's clear is the porch that's here is completely inconsistent
Yeah,
with the
that's right,
house.
For sure.
And you've discovered all these beautiful period elements that you're bringing back, and having this porch on the front of it
Right,
hides the beauty of what you're doing.
for sure, and one of the main issues we're having is that this is a more recent picture here on the right. So we haven't been able to do anything with the siding or anything around here just because of the presence of the porch.
Yes.
So once we're able to get working on the porch, we actually will be able to finish the siding.
Right.
So,
So that may be a better thing, just as a construction plan, to take the porch down.
right,
And then see where you are.
Since we have a picture of the house, that's what, so it looks so great. Are you gonna replace those fish scale, the missing fish scales on the upper registry?
yeah.
And then what's the bottom gonna be? Just a clapper?
Yeah, he did that last time.
Right.
Sorry, I missed it. I apologize.
Okay, yeah, no, so the bottom is going to be just regular clapboard 6 inch. So basically what was there before, and we're currently working on restoring the fish scale.
Great, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you, and also footnote that I thought you guys might consider interesting or find interesting is that there's actually box guarders hidden in this house, so I had no idea there was box guarders in this house until we started opening all the metal fascia board and the roof, so we decided to, instead of just covering or keeping them covered, we're just restoring those as well.
Those can be well, I mean, there's lots of materials for that. I don't know if you've done it before. I just actually did mine. There's a great membrane that you can get. and it's paintable.
Oh, right.
It's also paintable.
Yeah, definitely keep in mind. If there are no more questions regarding the front porch, or
Should we- Is everyone on board with what I said?
Yes, I mean, I am.
We are.
We did, and the homeowner, we represented the homeowner.
That's good.
Yeah.
So should we make a motion? Wait, you have other things in the garage.
Yeah, one more item.
It's the building east of the river.
Do you have any photos of the garage? Do you want-
Oh,
There is
Yeah.
pictures of it, or there might not be any image of that.
Let's join the meeting on his phone and then just share his screen.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a picture of the porch to, I can send it to you, but.
It's in the block, right?
Yeah.
Not the.
Yeah.
block, The garage, the garage.
Yeah, so basically, the employer is looking to expand the garage about 5 feet. So right now it's just cinder block, roof, and a piece of a front. So like a front upper siding here. This is what it looks like currently, so just exposed cinder block. Siding on top of the door and the roof, that's all the structure is. So we're looking to have the exact same structure, basically like for like, except we would like to extend it to make it a 2-car garage. Yeah, it's, I know it's a stretch, but given all the construction happening right around that area, all the housing coming in and all the buildings being restored. Parking as it is in that corner is very difficult.
What's the width of the building now? It's just- What would you-
Right now it's 13 feet and we are proposing it to be 18. So just 5 foot difference.
Could I hear some opinions from the commission? Are there any opinions from the commission?
Yeah, look.
Oh, take it, it's fine.
Oh, it's just I'm gonna say hi. So it's too much. I think, you know. On the practical side of it, that parking is an issue. And to be able to do that with only adding 5 feet. You know, it would look essentially the same. It was something I would consider. However, You know, I'd have to really see a drawing or, I'm on the fence with it,
Have you seen I mean, Jeremy, do you have an opinion about this?
It just feels like a growing eyesore.
We have a photograph here, Paul. Do you mind sharing this with them over there?
Yeah, it is
See
true.
what it
I
looks
mean,
like
that I
now.
learned it right now.
It's very prominently,
I just don't know where,
And maybe I'll help some of this. As the whole issue with our email, I was not able to review the new additional construction to this garage. There may be other elements that come into play, such as setback requirements.
right.
Zoning issues. We just don't add on to a building without that proposal. I have not seen that. I don't know where the property lines are, none of that stuff. I wasn't aware of an addition to an existing structure.
It wasn't the original.
So in the plan, so in terms to tackle one of your points, it will be going, or it will be expanded sort of against the property line. So
Right.
property line with the neighbors on this side will be expanded on this side.
Yeah, but what happens when it is, when you're changing the footprint of the existing non-conforming, the existing non-conforming goes away. So now it has to come into conformity with what zoning code.
Mhm.
And there's lot coverage issues, there's not just setbacks, there's a whole thing. Whenever you take a building, you're gonna add to it, zoning requirements come into play.
Right.
So that we have to review, I have to determine, does it require a zoning review? And if so, before this board can approve it, has to have a variance.
And also looking at it. This may be a moot point after. Craig
I think we
gets
should
going.
I think we should
Let's just see what happens.
see what happens, right?
And then one more thing is to add to the element, when you extend for a garage like this, because again, I wasn't aware of this, and I didn't get a chance to review this because of the way the application's been in. You're also gonna have to change the curb cut. Because you're gonna have a 2-car garage, you're gonna extend the cut into that curb, that has to be approved by our DPW commissioner. We just can't allow that, and being that close to that corner, I can't say whether they'll approve that or not.
Let me ask you this, would I be able to? Which approval do I need first to move forward? Do I need the?
Well, you need a code review first
Okay.
of the addition. That would be me. Then if I can't approve it, we have to go to zoning.
I'm just gonna write this down so I get.
Best thing to do is give me a call this afternoon.
And, well, let me offer this. Would you like an approval to tear down the porch and reconstruct the railing?
You know, I can run that through my client.
We can take a vote now.
We can vote that.
And you can then,
Or-
if your client says yes, then you can take it up next week and do it.
Oh, for the porch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing on the garage.
Okay, yeah, perfect, that'll be great.
Okay, so do I have a motion to find the application to complete as related to the porch?
Yeah.
Okay. Miranda and Paul, do I have a motion to instruct the city attorney to authorize the not as proposed, but the removal of the upper part of the porch and the replacement of the railings as drawn
And the stairs too.
and the stairs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we should probably, if you could you bring us an amended drawing next week? That's a
Yeah,
condition, we want an amended drawing so that Craig has this on file when he goes to look at
absolutely.
it. Okay,
And then go for
the porch,
the porch.
just the porch without that upper part.
Got it.
If your client decides to go ahead, if not, we can review it again as it is, and you can get a vote on it.
Cool. So as of right now, what's approved is to basically make it a deck, so the red.
A porch without a roof, an uncovered porch.
Yeah, I'll be here next week.
All right, we'll see you.
Some of these.
Maybe you'll be earlier on the agenda because you always seem to be.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's put together. There you go.
You need this.
All right, thank you.
You need this back?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I mean, I'll take it if it's just gonna.
No, should go.
we had a file.
Yeah,
So regarding, one last question, regarding the garage, I'm going to speak of the.
You're gonna come and see me about this.
Yeah, and we'll figure it out. Okay. All right, well, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you, Renee.
Who's next?
Next is Walter Channel, 402
Okay,
Walter.
before Walter goes, I know that there's someone missing on the application, on the agenda that wrote to me. It's Nick France. I think he's still on the Zoom.
Is that 204 Barn?
No, it's the house next door to this house, actually.
555 State Street, it was an application that was submitted. I think the last meeting or the meeting before,
Right.
that was a no-show.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, are you there? Okay, well, I'm gonna text him and
I
tell
thought
him.
I seen him on there.
He was on there before. We have one. I'm gonna just check it.
Next door to the house we just.
Yeah. Okay, Walter,
I have a late lunch scheduled, so I can wait if you'd prefer.
he's not on right now, so I just texted him, and if he comes back, we'll do him after you, and if not, we'll do him next week.
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna shut my door. Sorry. So thank you for hearing us. I'm here to represent 402 Warren Street, and I'm here with Matthew Tether of LMV Architects. We're working on the project together. And so I'm just going to quickly dive in. Sorry. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, great. So, and you see photographs on my screen.
yes.
Could
Perfect.
you make them larger?
Yeah.
Yes,
Look
yes,
right
that was
now
going to be
and
my
get here.
next trick. I just wanted to get to base camp first before we tried Everest. Is that better?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to be fairly quick because there's a lot to cover, and then we can come back to anything if anyone has questions. Starting at this point on Warren Street, looking west, this property encompasses the well-known fence with the mural, then a long abandoned, very handsome 4-story building on the corner, and then continuing around the corner, it goes down the block all the way to Prison Alley. So there it is. So it incorporates this magnificent corner building, a kind of toothed gap, a very handsome pair of buildings, a row house, and then the alley. So that is the context that we're working in. And then here's a shot from Prison Alley that shows kind of interesting fact. This very substantial looking house from the front is only about 20 feet deep. It's really kind of a fascinating, almost theatrical set piece. So again, I think this is a good photograph to begin the discussion. We've been asked to design a 32-room hotel that incorporates these buildings, incorporates elevators, et cetera, and provides all the necessary accessory spaces. And in order to do that, sorry, let me jump back. In order to do that, we've created a, oh boy, site plan that I'm going to have to rotate at least twice. Sorry. Okay, I won't do that to you again. So this is the corner of Warren and 4th Street. So for orientation, obviously city, the court, the county court is this way, the old orphanage is that way. Here's Prison Alley. So this is that shallow little building that I spoke of before. This is the other one. And all of this is being proposed as new infill to be added to that volume. And the way we would like to accomplish that is beginning here on the corner. This would be a fairly straight restoration of the existing building. Here it is, you know, both views of it. And anyone who goes there now will see it's, if you kind of glimpse at it without looking too carefully, it almost looks like it could be occupiable now. There's not a tremendous amount of work other than rebuilding the storefront and doing all the interior work that needs to be done on this. So this building here, The intention is to put it back as closely as possible to what was there. And then on the interior, arrange for a modern hotel. Then on the side of this existing building on Warren Street, in that little gap, we're proposing what on Warren would be a 2-story building. This would be the kind of hotel bar and an entrance coming down Warren that you could then go in and wander through the hotel public rooms and the dining room and back to the lobby of the hotel, which is actually going to be located here mid-block on 4th Street. So there's a little 2-story building being proposed here that goes back, I'll show you in a second, and jumps up another story to provide room for an additional guest room. And then on 4th Street, we're inserting a building here, and I'll just reference this little site plan here, which doesn't quite show it. It shows the roof plan correctly, but the building here in this gap will be set back. That's a very important point. So when you look at that view that we had before, looking up 4th Street and down 4th Street, this gray facade will be recessive and hopefully from down the street not even visible. All you'll see is the roof mass. The reason for this roof mass, we've had some fun with it. We have 2 modern state-of-the-art elevator overrides that we have to accommodate somewhere in the hotel. So that's an attempt to deal with that. And again, this idea is to take these 2 existing buildings and make it look like there were some additional historic buildings located between them, rather than trying to unify this composition in any way. And then going around the corner on the alley, here is the existing building here. And then this is a part of the addition here. And you can see that we're quite blatantly trying to mimic this with an addition of some guest rooms. This is a part of it here that forms a little entry for the hotel off the alley. And then there's a little service corridor here that leads down to the hotel service entry. And as you can see back here, we've continued the volume of this building around, sort of responding to the volume on the street. And then here is a kind of large mass that would be kept very simple because it's not really visible, covered in corrugated metal or party panel, whatever you guys like. And that would be the hotel services against a party wall, and also up on top here, the hotel mechanicals. And I believe that that's it for my introductory discussion. So I'd open up to Matthew, if Matthew, you want to add anything?
Thank you, Walter. I think that was an excellent orientation from the general to the specific, from the urban environment down to these 2 beautiful buildings that we're trying to repurpose and restore, but also stitch them together with some appropriate infill for a hotel and a wonderful intersection in Hudson.
Great.
Thank
So
you.
do you all want to lead the discussion? Do you want us to go into a deeper monologue? What would you like to do?
I mean, I have a question. I'm sure there'll be many questions here, but what I would say is the enormity of it and the prominence of it is obviously going to require a public hearing if we've ever seen something that does. So we could probably have a few minutes of discussion amongst us and with early thoughts, or we can wait for the public thing. I mean, I guess we haven't seen any historic photos. I think that's going to be really important in the application. There was a building in between them because the bricks are still there, right? So I think we're gonna really gonna want to know specifically what that looks like. And then I think we're gonna want to see that mapped to what you're proposing to change from what is to what will be.
He asked to approve this full.
I mean, the certificate is for the entire project, right?
That would be my assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is correct.
So I think we should, do we have a motion to find the application complete? Yes. No, it gets complete and then we don't waive a vote, and then we vote against waiving.
Well, I think if I may, I think what you just said is correct. I think to add to the application the historical
I
context.
see, we still,
And what is currently and what will be, and
That's
just have it for the public meeting, a complete package that has history, what the before and after, and anything that will help the public understand.
and us.
And us.
So Walter, I think we need more. That's a
Okay.
great- Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I think we need more. I think we need historic. I think we need very specific bridges between what is and what will be. And then we need to probably have that before we do a public hearing.
Okay, so just to be clear, can we submit that material to you and schedule a public hearing, or you say we'd submit it, there would be a meeting, and then we'd schedule a public hearing?
It seems to me that we should review that to make sure that there's enough for the public. So why don't you, can you get that to us by next week?
Yes, fortuitous,
Next week, we will schedule a public hearing for our next meeting. How's that?
that would be great, and we'll get you a very complete document so you can have all the background information. I totally think that's a
That'd be
reasonable request.
And is there anything else that leaves off the,
No,
Okay.
we need additional
Right.
information to make any kind of decision. So,
yeah,
Also, I think understanding the changes to these existing exterior structures, like all of that stuff, and maybe I just haven't had time to review this in detail, but.
look, I would also encourage us to go by here, because if you haven't looked at this corner in a long time, it's a really prominent and important.
It is.
So let's all have a,
Absolute dead
let's all have a look, and we have, if we don't have this, we'll have it when the email comes back up, or we also can send it out to our personal email, or we have this, right, electronically?
We cannot, we can't post it. As soon as Walter and his colleagues do the application,
Mhm.
complete the application, and we approve that, we can then post it onto the HPC website. We
But
do
we're
have-
not there.
We're not there.
Maybe what I would ask is, do we have this electronically, or can we get it from Walter? Walter, could you send this to us?
Yeah, I believe I did, but I'm happy to resend it.
Walter, I'll write you with my personal email, and then I'll distribute it by text to.
Excellent, excellent. That's great, John. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
And Walter, if you could provide a lot more information about the new structure of what was there previously, kind of the understanding of. And you get the village approach you're going for here in the design, but just more information about those specifically, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah, no, totally got it. I think everything that has been asked for is not only reasonable, but easy to access. So I'm happy to comply.
I'm also thinking, I mean, we have seen applications before where sightlines are shown, right? Like when we did the firehouse, for example. And to me, it looks almost like that new interim building has a mansard roof from these
Yes.
drawings. And that is not what you, I think, intend to render, right? So if there's a way to, I can see now, like, what are you gonna see from the street when you look up?
So I'm happy to say, or embarrassed to say, as whichever is appropriate, it really is a mansard. It's a true mansard, and it's there to absorb our elevator overrides. So your point is very well taken, and we've done some very blocky 3D sketches. I'm happy to kind of refine that a little bit. Obviously, I hope it's clear we all want the same thing, so let's get there together.
Great, I'm sorry. So that'll be, 3D will also be very helpful, just like you did for us in the large project in the Depot district.
Okay, like a sketchy is okay as long as it shows
It's
you.
definitely, I think, okay. And anything you send out, I will give to the commissioners so they can look at it and contact it. Okay, great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
That's used to sketchy.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, so the State Street is not available, but he would like to be on the agenda for next week. Okay, whoever, Jan, what is it?
555 state, that
Can you repeat that?
application is submitted, so that's in your.
All right, thank you.
I texted the applicant for 204 Warren, it was just a sign.
Yeah, can they come in? Can we approve it without the applicant? If it's a sign?
It's a sign, and it's a simple sign.
Do we have a picture of it that Jan can show us?
It wasn't sent.
Maybe
Not
pass
one of the
it
ones that electronically we can email, we can emails. I have their applications and stuff, so.
Great.
And same way with, well, I do have two, I do make it.
Of course, it's more complicated than most of our signs, of course, right? It's got a snake for for hardware, all right?
And 558 Warren Street, which is
Yeah.
as well. Here's the application. Yeah, I just want what they can do is find anything that's not here today, you can bring it to next.
The problem is we can't ask them if it's an original bracket. We know, but we know the answer.
I don't think it's it.
We might have noticed that.
That was the 204.
All right, so let's do 204 Warren Street first.
Next week.
Oh, you want to do that
it
now? No, we can do it now. Are there any comments on 204 Warren Street on that bracket?
I don't know.
It's kind of creepy
I
and cool.
It doesn't bother me at all, but all right, do I have a motion to find the application complete? I will. Do I have a motion to direct the city attorney to issue a certificate of appropriateness? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. And proprietors, it looks like an original bracket, but
Yeah,
even,
that's fine.
It's fine.
do I have a motion to find it complete? Jeremy and Hugh, all in favor? City attorney, blah, 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 blah. That is 5531.
Yeah.
Thanks, Craig. for doing that.
We're making a public hearing.
Yes, we are waiving a public hearing. We're going to approve that. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn, Jeremy?
Is there any public?
Anyone on the public have a question for us or anything we need to be addressing?
Hello, this is Ron Kopnicki and Matt McGee. We each have
Yeah.
some comments. Matt first.
Yes, I was a little concerned. It was somewhat unclear. Is there going to be a public hearing on the 401, 402 Warren?
Yeah, there will be. We've asked for some additions to the application, which they will hopefully bring to us by next week.
Yes.
On the application.
That's
There's no historic photo.
because the terminology was getting mixed up and I wasn't clear.
I apologize.
This
I'm
is a
gonna be
public
substitute
meeting.
teacher. But
We're at a public meeting now, and a public hearing is somewhat different.
we are going to definitely have a public hearing. It will not be next week. The earliest it could be would be the second Friday of
Okay.
January.
Okay,
We
because
will
I
determine that
am,
next week.
I'm interested in these. And the other thing I wanted to say, hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Warren, thank you so much.
Hello?
You get your certificate.
Oh,
Oh, they're there.
can you see me?
We approved your sign.
You did?
Yeah, you can get your certificate, your C of A next week.
Great.
Have a great week.
Thank you so much.
You have to sit there for 3 hours while we did it too. Lucky. Bonus.
I'm so
I'm sorry, Ron,
sorry.
go ahead.
Say that again. Hi, I have the worst.
Goodbye,
goodbye. Happy holidays. Thank
Ron?
you.
Yes, hello. Hello, hello. Hello.
Hi, Ron.
Yes, I just wanted to offer a note of thanks for the additional details provided with agenda items, and also for the application packages, which are now have been posted online, which contain more information about the C of A applications.
Well, we thank you for your continued interest and we thank, of course, our very talented secretary and code enforcement officer and legal support for all their great work.
And Matt has something else that he would like to say.
And I was also concerned about the the Daughters of the American Revolution work. I think it would be useful to know if that bay on the back is original to the house and if the fireplace is in its original place. It appeared in the photograph to be an original fireplace to the building.
The
Was
doc- the spokesperson and the architect stated it was from 1900, not original to the house.
The bay.
Yes,
Chimney.
They said the chimney. I'm referring to the bay that the chimney is on attached.
round
to.
bay.
yeah, they said the whole thing was an addition in 1900, a small theater.
So the fireplace was moved. Because I don't see any evidence where there would have been a fireplace chimney for that room elsewhere. If it were moved to another wall, there would have been a fireplace.
I don't know that it was moved to another wall. That
Moved
wasn't
from-
maintained.
If there would have been a fireplace in that room when the house was new, and I can't, unless it was on that wall when the bay was put where it was, I don't see where it could have been.
Well, we have not issued a certificate of appropriateness yet. Or did
No.
did we issue a certificate of appropriateness? for
No.
that? We're still, that was a discussion. And I don't think there were any resolutions associated with that.
That's what I understood too. I just wanted to point these things out because
We appreciate it, and we'll double click on it when we see them again, and we'll verify before we issue a certificate of appropriateness. That's
it's a
okay.
little unclear, I think.
Given the importance of the house, we'll make sure that we do that.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Reminder that we'll be here next week. Okay. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Meeting
Thank you.
adjourned. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Jeremy, all in favor, aye. What do I do now?
Thank you,
Stand,
substitute.
stand. That's the thing that's in there.